KPPP-LP Fargo Moorhead 88.1 FM. Hi everybody, we got some stuff to roll into real quick. For this Finding Me show, you're going to be listening to me again rant about Voltron, or at least the voices of other people rant. So first, I'm going to drop a couple of links here so that you guys can read these articles. This first article that I'm going to drop down so you can get some information is published on GeekDad by Sean Z. How the End of Voltron's Legendary Defender Exemplifies the Quarantining of Queerness in Animation by Sean Z. And drop that in there in part of the blog post and on the show program so you can look at it. And also, I'd like you to look at a by-the-numbers look at the disaster that was Voltron Season 8 by Taylor, published on the Geekiary. And I will drop that as well, which can give you a little bit of a lot of what you need to know for this this program. And while you do that, I'm also going to tell you to go to this website, which is tinyurl.com/free VLD S8 master-ENG-archive. I'm going to repeat that. tinyurl.com/free VLD, V as in violin, S8 master-ENG-archive. And so that you can see the master posts of animation inconsistencies and storytelling plot holes. When we made the original Tumblr blog, which this URL will go to, the website was deleted, and instead of only deleting the post, which Tumblr tends to do for whatever reason, it deleted the entire blog hours after the master post was created and without notice. So hopefully Tumblr will answer that at some point or another, but otherwise it's been over a week, 2 weeks actually at this point really, for the most part, since it took us at least 3 to 4 days to put together that master post, and still no answer. And then I'd like to also forward all of you to twitter.com/free Voltron S8 for tweets, updates, comments, and questions, and threads with videos referenced in the archive so that you can follow along with that. If you need more information, it will be in the blog post. And now we're going to go to, let's see. I'm trying not to be in a hurry because this is all important. So first, I'm going to get into my feelings again with the Voltron stuff, which was a lot of scattered feelings because I was acting on anger. And the thing is, I'm still angry, but now I have honed it into a blade with a focused goal. And so I want to tell you some of the thoughts that I've had in the past week. Like, for example, if you've been listening to my podcasts or my radio programs, you know that I talked about the controversy around Voltron Season 7 and the really misguided understanding of what bury your gaze tropes is. And this time around, I would call it bury your gaze because it's a emotional vein rather than the physical one. And it's really bad considering that animation reaches a lot of audiences emotionally in storytelling. And I feel like DreamWorks executives got scared at bury your gaze, but did again in this storytelling fashion through the emotional separation of friends and family of the LGBTQ character. And speaking as an artist, animation is an art form that reaches an audience's emotions. So if you combine that with the music, the voices, the direction from its storytellers, it's a pretty screwed up message to send to kids that if you come out gay, then you lose your friends and family, or you never know about them. And you have to think about the messages you're sending when you're creating an art form, even if it's for kids, because the fact that we never got to hear about Shiro's backstory, like, we got headcanons, but we had no confirmations. Like, for example, Josh Keaton, the voice actor for Shiro, had headcanons that Shiro's parents may have died at some point, and he was raised by his grandfather. And I can see how that headcanon would work out because Shiro comes off as a, level-headed person, but also fairly mature, and he has a vague idea of what he's doing, even if he's a young person. So part of his soul is somewhat old, and while the rest of him is young and exuberant. So even with kids who are understanding simple concepts and simpler emotions before they get into the complex stuff, because this is a Y7 rated animated show, I still think there is room for kids to interpret what they get out of that. So, like, if you're a 7-year-old who started watching Voltron and it's 2 years later at 9 years old, or even 10 years old now at 12, you're going to go through puberty or starting puberty. And so a lot of kids during that time are going to start understanding some of the base societal concepts of sex, gender, and attraction. And if some of these kids grow up being queer, what does that mean for them? I mean, are they going to have to expect their parents to not be around for them anymore? Are they going to expect to, whenever they're coming out to their friends or family, that their best friends will stop talking to them for the most part unless they absolutely have to? Does that mean that even if they have the best roles in life, that they're not going to be able to connect with friends either that are in the workplace, except for maybe, what they absolutely have to do? I don't think so, or at least that shouldn't be a message that's sent to young queer kids that are growing up, or questioning kids, regardless if they end up being straight in the end. And I feel like that's super damaging, or at least it wouldn't be something I would want for any children that I know or around me, which is why I signed the petition on change.org. You can find that at tinyurl.com/free VLDS8, and I will also have a QR code for that throughout this program while I read off tweets, comments, and reasons for signing. So I'm going to tell you my reason for signing. My reason for signing was there are a lot of things that didn't make sense in the plot line of Voltron, and the characters were more like cardboard cutouts of themselves than anything else. And that's just my first point. Secondly, certain scene transitions were abrupt and didn't make sense when characters were speaking to one another, and it was so plainly obvious how sloppy the changes were made. Thirdly, as someone who advocates for genuine LGBTQ representation, viewing the positives and negatives of both, what DreamWorks has done was lazy, empty, and thoughtless execution to grab good press because of a gay wedding. That Adam's name was still in the audio description during the epilogue, despite his death in the previous season. The audience could have easily done without the wedding, and everyone remaining friends people's relationships in show was not going to be explored further or acting like strangers with one another when Voltron paladins are supposed to be close and a cohesive team and goes against everything Voltron embodies in terms of close bonds and choosing your own family. My other points so far, I don't rate these as more important than the other, but the case of Allura hurts a lot. In Season 1, she awakens and is burdened by her father's legacy. At some point, she has to destroy her father's hologram AI. Her prospect as a main character increases with her revealed potential to heal entire planets from near death to complete health. In Season 2, she has to wrestle against the concept and idea that she's going to have to work with people who she is distrustful of and doesn't generally like. Like, for example, in Season 2, Keith was revealed to be of Galra heritage, and she had to move past that because up to this point, Keith had no reason to harm her or probably ever would harm her. And he was also the Red Paladin at the time, and she was just going to accept the fact that sometimes your allies are going to be people that you're also fighting against, and war is messy in that way. But not everything is black and white as it would seem. And in Season 3, she would actually meet other Alteans of her, her people in an alternate universe and find out those people are not always going to be good in different universes because those people took away the free will of other races under the guise of peace and security. And so again, not everything was black and white, and she was learning those things. And furthermore, in Season 4 and Season 5, she learned to be a valuable member of Team Voltron by becoming a paladin herself, which in the books was one of her biggest dreams, was to become a paladin of Voltron. And even though she had wanted to become the paladin of the Red Lion, which was her father's lion, she was picked up by the Blue Lion, which usually, as far as we know, sees the potential of young paladins who are just beginning, which is why it picked Lance in the first place, who was having trouble being the best pilot he could be when he had luckily upgraded from cargo pilot to fighter pilot because Keith had been kicked out of the garrison years ago. Digressing a little bit, Season 5, 6, she began to learn about Prince Lotor, who was the son of Zarkon, and while his storyline may have been handled differently or could have been handled differently, she learned that even though appearances seem one way, sometimes you're going to have to fight the people you love. And she fell in love with him and decided to have a fallout, I suppose, because all she could see was the fact that he had incidentally killed a lot of her people in the process of trying to save them. We don't know why or how. It could have been done differently, like I said, and I understand that because, I've watched some bits and pieces of Season 8, and while I don't hate every piece, there are some things that I could have done without, specifically the epilogue, but I will get to that at another time. Season 7, Allura started to really become part of the team, and she was comfortable in her lion, and there was repeatedly pushed because by this time Keith was not comfortable in his leadership role, even though it was a little bit different than Shiro. And he was very supportive of his team, and it was hammered really hard that no matter what, we always have each other. And that really affected me deeply, that despite all the stuff they had gone through and the difficulty bonding with Keith, because Keith is a very reclusive person, and most of the time he only hangs out with Shiro or is close to him in general, who knows him best. And the other paladins haven't really made an effort prior to that to really have a deeper connection with him, the way they did in their journey from deep space to Earth over the course of a year or so. And I felt that was really important to bring them together in a way that was not otherwise addressed before because of the animosity from Lance to Keith, who is now developed to be a much better ally and friend who can help Keith see the other perspective and understand that when he goes into tunnel vision, he might not be thinking of others in a sensitive manner, that shuts people out, or he's harming people in the process when he is trying to protect them. And so to balance that out in that way. Or how Allura at first shunned him for his Galra heritage, or Hunk's apprehension, presumably by Lance's stories of who Keith is, and slowly getting to know him. And Pidge starting to kind of understand who Keith was because she had no idea who he was either. But they seem to have a, amiable friendship, or at least allyship. So to know that, spoiler alert, Allura dies and they don't try to stop her, it feels hollow, empty, and you would think that with the power of teamwork and friendship, there would have been a way to save the universe, defend it. And so I feel like she got the short end of the stick in that way. I hope, and that's not all of my statement in there. I actually embellished a little bit more with the additions because I've been thinking about this over and over of what could have gone wrong and what could have gone right, plausibly, based on what I know as public. But I hope that the correct choice is made and that we receive what staff who worked on this show with all their heart and love for the franchise is fully realized, or at the very least, the poorly inserted PowerPoint and jittery epilogue is removed altogether. This is not the quality of work I've seen in the past 7 seasons of Voltron for DreamWorks, and I do not entertain the thought that Studio Mir would create something so poor in quality, considering that I was a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Please make the right choice for Voltron. The people who put the work into it and its fans deserve to see the vision to be realized, even if it's not as good as this one, but I feel like it could be a little bit better. Now I'm going to read the other signatures that have been seen, and you can also view on the Free Voltron S8 Twitter. Season 8 was something beloved being ripped from me. It rang hollow and did not give justice to the characters I had come to regard as precious. Shiro was isolated from every one of his friends, stripped of his dream and warrior spirit, so he could be married off to a background character nobody cares about. Allura was a sacrifice in the end, and adding that epilogue just takes away from any hope that she would ever come back and live the life she fully deserved. The season was such a mess, and the worst part was realizing that this could have been avoided. Voltron, these characters, all deserve a better version of the story, with no editing or meddling or last-minute endings pasted on. This story was hope to many of us, and the season 8 that was aired extinguished a lot of that. Surely, DreamWorks, it would cost you nothing to leave a little bit more hope in the world. Please give us our story back. I feel so mad still. Season 8 is so bad that it's fallen 13% on Rotten Tomatoes as of December 29th, 2018. Season 7, by comparison, is 74% fresh. We keep saying it's not about ships. I don't know how else to make it clear than those numbers. Those are a legion of angry fans, and a lot of whom don't care about ships or even maybe had ships. We just want to see the same characters we knew and loved for 2 years restored to their true selves, not the strangers from Season 8. We want to appreciate the extremely hard work the staff put into making this show. We want to hear the cast's voice work shine like they did in past 7 seasons. I'm asking all levels of fans of the show, the casual and the avid, please sign this petition. Share. Donate if you can. We have come this far. We just can't give up now. Voltron has helped me through so much growing as a person. Even over the course of 2 quick years, even though it was just a cartoon, it helped me discover parts of myself I never knew about. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But seeing the final season flatting out the characters that I love so much just feels wrong. I wasn't happy with the final season. Many of us weren't. The ideas, the hints, foreshadowing was thrown out the window. I believed in the writers and voice actors. I still do. But it saddens me to see the creativity and differences that separate this show from others have a cliche story ending that was all over the place. And finally, this new remake of Voltron, it's important to me for two very specific reasons. First, it helped me bridge over the large gap in the relationship I have with my oldest brother. Our mutual knowledge of Voltron, even though there are clear differences between Voltron Legendary Defender and the 80s Voltron we all know and love, brought us together as siblings. Secondly, as a queer and trans individual, I resonate heavily with our main cast of heroes. I feel like a lot of Season 8 was rushed or abandoned, and the characters I leaned on so heavily, especially when I was just starting on the path of self-recovery from depression, felt like they had been scrapped for great select-value TM knockoffs. It was disappointing, and while I know I'm lucky to have gotten to see these characters in general, how everything ended left a bitter taste in my mouth, despite the positivity I tried to hold on to. If there truly is an original Season 8 that doesn't suck as bad, like giving us more extra characterization for starters, or maybe even having screen time between Shiro and his new husband Curtis, who I only discovered the name of through Wiki, then I think we deserve it instead of a half-planned, sped-through relationship between two characters of color that ends with a strong woman of color dying and an openly gay man who spent his life in the Force, deciding to skip his life's work because he got married. And now to a long list of tweets that I found, which also help to point out the issues. These tweets are by Sad Space Cowboy. Anyway, I know no one cares about what I have to say, but I want to say it anyway, so here's a little explanation as to why I'm angry at the epilogue and what it did to Shiro. Hashtag VLD, hashtag FreeVLD Season 8, hashtag Shiro. According to interviews from showrunners and voice actors, it was very difficult to get DreamWorks to approve of gay Shiro. The backstory episode with Keith was supposed to air in Season 2, but apparently because of story scheduling and DreamWorks meddling, it got pushed back. And even when they were finally able to reveal Shiro as gay, it was done subtly and even had alternate lines recorded for different areas, or in case DreamWorks changed their minds, making Adam a roommate instead of a boyfriend. Then we get Season 8, and it just so happens that the season after Shiro is revealed to be gay, any interaction with Keith, his closest friend, disappears. I don't know why DreamWorks felt the need to remove that after 7 seasons of Shiro and Keith interactions, but they did. My theory as to why they removed it was that after Season 7, many people began theorizing that Shiro and Keith would be the endgame pairing. People were even writing articles about it. 7 seasons of I Will Never Give Up on You, and one of them being gay in canon convinced a lot of people. So my theory is that DreamWorks executives sat down and asked, what the hell is with Shiro and Keith, and put a halt on it for Season 8. As for why, I can only imagine that they didn't want Keith to be gay in canon, but I guess they also didn't want anyone interpreting him as gay either. And so instead, they took away every interaction, post-production apparently, and shoved Shiro into a wedding as if to really beat us over the head with the fact that Keith wasn't gay and wouldn't end up with Shiro. From an outsider's perspective, the wedding may seem huge. For those that know the story and how DreamWorks meddled, it's a cheap PR stunt. DreamWorks ripped a gay character away from the most meaningful relationship in his life because they're both men isn't really acceptance. If DreamWorks really felt okay with Shiro being gay, they wouldn't have cared how people interpreted his relationship with Keith, or anyone else in the show. Throwing a gay wedding at the end to feign acceptance isn't sincere, isn't groundbreaking, it's cheap. And that's why it upsets me and why it feels like a stunt. DreamWorks wants to have it both ways. They want to get the points for having a gay character but strip him down to nothing and rip away any meaningful relationship he had. How is that acceptance? It would be like if someone said they didn't agree with gay marriage, but went to their gay friend's wedding without showing any change in ideals. Showing up doesn't change their homophobic attitude, but it does make them look good, or gives the look that they're understanding. LOL, I'm at work. Maybe I'll finish this later. Okay, I'm back. Time to talk about the actual epilogue itself. LOL. LGBT rep is almost never given the same treatment as straight relationships. Often, it's never addressed in canon, but we're told someone is gay through word of God, or it's shoved in at the very last minute. Straight canon couples are given time to show their relationship grow and develop. People think Allura and Lance were rushed, but at least we saw Lance pine after Allura. At least we actually got to see them as a couple. The guy Shiro married isn't even addressed by name in the show. This is typical in a lot of LGBT rep, as I said before. Straight couples are given entire arcs. Gay couples are shoved in at the last minute as an afterthought. Except, Voltron did focus on a relationship between two men, Shiro and Keith. I'm not saying that Shiro and Keith should have been endgame, or that everyone should ship Shiro and Keith. But through Shiro and Keith, Voltron had one of the most groundbreaking, developed relationships between two men I've ever seen in Western media. Then it was taken away. Shiro and Keith didn't have to become canon to be groundbreaking. It did that all on its own. Articles were written, the cast supported it. The Black Paladins is the highest rated episode. Shiro and Keith's relationship was vital to Voltron and important to show. If they wanted to stay platonic, stripping away their relationship and shoving Shiro with an unnamed guy gives the implication that you can't be gay and have meaningful platonic relationships with men. This stereotype is around enough. We don't need it shown in a kid's show. Even just having an open or ambiguous ending for the two of them, while keeping their interactions, would have been groundbreaking. This deep bond between two men we've never seen before, their relationship left open to interpretation by fans and critics alike. Could you imagine? And if DreamWorks wanted to go the extra mile, they had this pre-developed relationship, the most organic in the show and arguable in much of animation, sitting for them on a silver platter. Instead, they threw it in the dumpster. Great. And I know I spent the last few tweets crying over Shiro and Keith, but I do want to make clear that I'm not upset due to my ship not being canon. Shiro and Keith didn't have to be endgame, and I never expected them to. I would be happy with Shiro's husband, if we knew him at all. I would have been happy if he had been developed a little bit, if he had seen in one moment of him and Shiro together that wasn't slapped in at the last minute. It can't compare to Shiro and Keith, but New Guy doesn't even have 7 seasons like they did. But something. Please. Except he couldn't have been because they threw him in at the last minute. They said, that guy is on the Atlas, let's use him, and copy-pasted him into a scene cheering for Shiro when a moment ago he was with the MFEs to make it look like they had something. Not only do they never say his name, he's called Adam in the descriptive video version. People are saying he isn't a random guy because he was on the Atlas, but even the people in charge of the show don't know who he is. That's how ill throughout this change was. Fans of Voltron didn't stay for the plot. They stayed for the characters they grew to know and love over 7 seasons. The characters, their growth, their relationships is what makes the show special. To see these characters so butchered is what makes me upset. Shiro left Adam so he could be a space explorer. Why would he now marry a random guy and retire? Keith was willing to die for Shiro. Why would he never talk to him in this season? It doesn't make sense, and it isn't a representation of what Voltron is. Anyway, I think I'm done. I've made my point. If DreamWorks wanted to make last-minute changes, fine. But they should have never introduced the epilogue. It ruined the ending for every character involved, especially Allura in my opinion. Not only Keith and Shiro. I'm just disappointed. Actually, I'm not done. I saw someone say that they fear DreamWorks will throw out some info about Curtis to appease us, and that isn't what we want. We want to focus on the characters we've loved for 7 seasons, not this guy we don't know at all. Don't do it, DreamWorks. I beg. And then the second thread. I made an entire thread about why the epilogue was horrible for Shiro, specifically, which turned into a rant about the horrible representation in Voltron Legendary Defender, but I'm still mad because honestly the epilogue ruined everything for everyone, especially Allura. I started a thread going into detail, but I'm too tired to keep going. Basically, so much of the epilogue goes against character development we witnessed throughout the 7 seasons. It separates the Paladins, the found family we followed. Keith is alone when he should at least be with Crolia. Lance is a farmer when he should be out there doing what Allura would have wanted and helping build New Altea. Hunk gives up his interest in diplomacy to Cook. Pidge could be focusing on the Olkari. I already went into detail about Shiro, but he's forced to leave behind what made him happiest and settle down. The finally found his happiness is a double whammy too, as if being a paladin and captain of the Atlas didn't make him happy, after 8 seasons showing it did. And then, Allura. I think her sacrifice was rushed and unnecessary. Even if it had to happen, it could have been done so much better. But if you look at the ending without the epilogue, it's an open ending that implies that Allura is out there and the Paladins could find her. Maybe she's higher being. Maybe she's like Bob. That means the Paladins could see her and interact with her. They could follow the lions to her. She isn't just gone. Without the epilogue, we're free to interpret that they did that. That they didn't give up on her. With the epilogue, she is just gone. She's gone, and all of the Paladins have moved on with their lives. After all the magic and mysticism we've seen in Voltron Legendary Defender, we're forced to believe that the Paladins gave up on her and settled for having a dinner once a year instead. The season was horrible for a lot of reasons, but the epilogue was like the nail in the coffin. After a season of butchered characterization, rushed confusing plots, and unnecessary sacrifice, we aren't even left to interpret what the characters do at the end. We're told, this is it, this is what they do. Done and final, and expected to not only believe it, but to be happy with it. It feels like DreamWorks Animation didn't even watch their own show or know their own characters. If they did, they'd know how out of character and wrong this epilogue is. And a third thread, but much shorter. I don't know. It still bothers me that people think that criticism for Season 8 comes only from shipping. People get upset when their ship isn't made canon, but that isn't what this is about. But people are trying to invalidate legitimate concerns to make us seem immature. It says a lot when people say, I don't like that they cut out a deep relationship between two men that was vital to 7 seasons and that showed that men can be close and vulnerable with one another. And the response is, LOL, you're just mad your problematic ship isn't canon. And then a tweet by Laura Vasquez about, this is not about shipping. Why do people think this is about shipping? The season was supposed to be released earlier, but got delayed. At DreamWorks Animation stepped in to change what LM, Lauren Montgomery, and JDS, Joaquim Dos Santos, wanted to put out. We've just been fighting for the original one before DreamWorks stepped in. Even kids can see the relationship that Shiro and Keith had fall apart. By the Couch Witch. Kids mostly assumed that Shiro and Keith were already together when Season 8 happened. They were asking why Shiro broke up with Keith and married someone else. Talking to those kids must have been trying to explain why their parents are getting divorced. Another tweet. So apparently even kids hated Voltron Season 8 ending. They cried and kept asking their parents why. Some were too upset they can't even finish watching till the end. So DreamWorks' plans to appeal to more kids through some plot choices is kind of big fail if you ask me. Another tweet. Genuine art gives us the strength to live. Tragic stories make us cry, but we become stronger, we have comprehension. We learn about true friendship and true love, and that death is not the end. Voltron Legendary Defender Season 8 is not art. This is commerce. It devastated us. Another tweet. One of the things that kills me is that with this ending, Shiro was made into someone who took advantage of Keith, who was there to help and support him through all his pain, and that as soon as he got better, post-Season 7, completely abandoned him and went off marrying someone else. This is a recurring problem in our current society, especially among gay men. By making Shiro not being with Keith with all the build-up you made, you spat on his character that was made to break all those stereotypes, and such an amazing example. This is something that Shiro would never do. He loves Keith beyond everything, is grateful for all his help. Their relationship is a couple supporting each other no matter what. Do not make Shiro the guy that took advantage of the naive, slightly younger man as a stepping stone. A Twitter thread by Sartsi. Please keep note that the number of 17,000 has otherwise changed since the timing of this tweet, and at the time of this recording, the petition has reached nearly 25,000. Let's talk logic. 17,000 fans. Each fan counts for one family. Let's average a family of 4. Each fan of Voltron who signed the petition is going to tell their family friends not to support DreamWorks Animation. So that averages about 70,000 people if we round up, including friends of friends, etc. How many people even watched Voltron? Netflix has 51 million subscribers. I'm going to say a solid 2% watched Voltron, but this is an educated guess. Because, to be honest, this fandom isn't that big. So we end up with 1 million viewers, which means at least 15% of viewers will or are vocally unhappy with this season. Now, I know my math is probably wrong, but I just had to bring up numbers to help my brain work, even though I'm horrible at math. The fact is, we have proof in numbers in the actual episodes itself of it being tampered with. DreamWorks Animation made a massive mistake, and we will not be quiet until the censorship is lifted. The longer they wait to respond, the more people will spread the word that DreamWorks is not a business any LGBTQ+ person should support. Mark my words, if there is no action taken, I will never support another DreamWorks production again. And neither will my children. This isn't about the fandom. This is about censorship, freedom of speech, and the LGBTQ+ community. #FreeVLDS8. Okay, I hope you enjoyed hearing those voices. Please check out the petition. Read it. It's for the fandom whole, not just shipping, as it's been repeatedly said. And you can look at all the polls. If you don't believe them, then talk to other people. Get the whole side of everything. But also, do please cross-check, because I get so annoyed by the misinformation passed around in fandom. I'm tired of it. I want it to be over. So, please, sign the petition, and let's all hope for a better reality. Did you find yourself today while finding me? Feel free to send me a message. You can contact us at 701-566-0917, at Nemo Potatoes on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Contact me through my contact on kpppfm.com/finding-me on that tab, or email me at nemo@kpppfm.com. If you'd like a sneak peek to the building of Finding Me programs in the future, consider becoming a patron at my Patreon at patreon.com/anemonefish. Follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. Donations to Fargo Moorhead's newest low-power commercial-free radio station can be made at our website on kpppfm.com/donate, and check out our underwriting opportunities at kpppfm.com/underwriting-opportunities on how you can support the first queer radio program in the Red River Valley. Thanks for tuning in. See you next month on the first Wednesday here on Finding Me.